Hello everyone, and welcome back to this little mini-series I'm making on generating the valley. This is the second episode, and as you saw from the first couple minutes of this, I tried something different and I went for a little bit of a time lapse for this first little build. To get this kind of straight out of the way, I want to get a little bit of a build actually into the world before we kind of keep going on here. And so I started making the starter home. This is not done yet, just a heads up. There's still a lot left to do with it, a lot of detailing and a lot of decorating. But I'm really proud with how it's turning out so far. It's a little bit different than I'm used to, especially with some of the colors. I'm really going to try and go with more of the fantasy feel, which is why I'm going with the purple and kind of like the crimson wood up there. But yeah, this is going to be the starter home. Just like the tavern back in the valley, this is going to be where everybody meets up, and eventually we will have like the small daily spin machine in here somewhere, and they'll probably be over here in the little wizard's tower that I'm going to start making. But there's probably just going to be a little bit of a meeting room up here, and this basically just gets everybody in one place without having to like track everyone down. And so I want to kind of get this here because this is going to be a pretty big staple of the start of the series. I won't be living in here, but this is going to be just kind of like the community hub. And so I just kind of wanted to get it down so that way we have kind of like a theme to go off of or like a vibe for the whole area. And yeah, so I just want to try something a little bit different for the start of the episode and kind of see what everyone's feedback was on it and see if this would be a good thing to do in the future. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of time lapses. It's just the question is whether I'm going to be doing them at the start of the episode, in the middle, should I explain them? So I just want to try something a little bit different. So today I have two major plans, and that is going to be to finish the Wizard's Tower. I'm basically going to be tearing this whole thing down and rebuilding it. I just wanted something there for the uh, kind of connection point for the rest of the community home. It's probably going to be more like a curve shape to it, something that I haven't really tested out before, but something that I would like to try. And the other thing I would like to do is potentially make one of the ruins for the one of the bundles. And so I have a couple of different ideas in mind. The first one that I already have kind of designed is the bridge. This one's a little bit more boring, so I'm not entirely sure if this one will be the one that I do today. And since I've already designed it, or like half designed it, it would be kind of like what I did with the community home over there. And I kind of want to show off the creative build process. And so the bridge itself would be nice, but I think I'm going to go for a different one today. And I think the one that I would like to test out, the one that I'm honestly probably most excited for, is the Nether portal. Now, the Nether portal is going to be on this facing wall over here where the chest is. And I'm not entirely sure what our plans are going to be for this. If we're going to do like some type of big ruin nether portal, if we're going to do like a floral one, or maybe some type of rift. We want something that kind of fits the area, but not something that honestly is going to be terrible to make, especially because we're going to be doing it semi early game. And so I think that is going to be one of the very first bundle ideas that we do. And I think what I'm going to do today is actually build that in creative. And then in the next episode, we will try and basically make the ruin version of it in survival. Basically, my idea is whatever we build in creative to kind of just chop it down and like make it look like a ruined version of itself. So that way, whenever we get, whenever we implement it into survival, it's kind of just like the Stardew Valley bundles where there's something there originally, but it kind of looks broken down, and then you kind of build it up overnight. With that being said, we can go ahead and hop over to the creative world and we can get this ball rolling on these portals. Welcome to the creative world. I realize that I have not shown this off yet, and so I can go ahead and do that. This is basically a version of the world that I took at I think some point right before I switched it to single player. And this is what I use to test some of my builds. I do use flat worlds every once in a while, but when it's something that is actually going inside the valley that I want in a very specific location, I do tend to try and half build things, just so that way I can get a general idea of what it looks like. So you can kind of see the general idea behind the house and the wizard tower. Very, very standard start. It's very much so, this is not what it's going to look like in the end. Most likely this is going to come up and it's going to come in like this, and then we'll probably use some walls or something like that. But it'll look more like a curve towards the end of it. And it'll be in a much kind of that bigger scale. So it'll look a hell of a lot better, but for now, that is just kind of like the general idea. And so today I will probably actually also be in the creative world doing this. But what I want to do now, if we if we are actually smart here and set this up correctly, is go ahead and start the nether portal. And so I want to get rid of all this, and I actually don't think I have fire tick on, so true. Okay. But we're going to go ahead and kind of clear away some of this forest just so we can kind of get a more general idea of the space we are working with. Hopefully these fires can just kind of get it out of the way. Um, I feel like this isn't something that is typically shown in videos. People actually having to do the manual work to clear these out, and I know that mostly people just kind of can use World Ed or use something else, but I mean, everyday Minecraft players, this is probably what they do. If they just gotta clear down some trees, they're probably just gonna use flint and steel and call it a day. Um, so I'll let that burn for a second, and once that kind of is done burning, I will go ahead and turn off fire tick, and I will go ahead and start the portal build. So after a little bit of thinking and a little bit of Google searching for some reference images, I believe I have the basic idea of what I want this nether portal to look like. I'm going to go ahead and throw up some images on screen just so you can kind of see what I'm referencing here. I think I want to basically do some type of large portal that is set into the side of the mountain here, and it will kind of have two rather large either wall faces or columns on the left and right side, and then it'll just kind of be mossy and overgrown. And I think all we're going to do for the bundle itself in world is maybe just like the very stumps of the column. And then when we actually do the bundle itself, the bundle will consist of like mossy cobblestone and stone and basically the images to build up the rest of the ruin portal. It seems a little weird that the portal is going to be ruined after building it, but I think it's going to look really cool to have some like ancient architecture in here and something that is already, it seems like it was already set in the world as we before we spawned in, and it'll really build up some of the story with the little valley here itself. And so I think that is what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and clear out this mountainside and let's prepare our kind of landscape for this. So you're gonna have to ignore the shoddy command work there, but got it done. It's been a couple years since I've last done command, so you'll have to bear with me as I get used to them again. But yeah, so the basic idea that I'm thinking of doing is basically having, we'll say like a 5 by 5 column here, something like this. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do something along these lines, and we will basically have these columns that go straight up. And then I was really enjoying the kind of architecture that goes, I don't know how best to explain it, but it looks kind it's kind of like triangular roof that goes like this, or not roof, but just kind of ceiling, I guess, I'm not sure. Something along these lines. And then we typically see like, I don't know, we'd say like deep slate or something like that in here. And there'd be like, oh, you see it's a little bit darker back here, whatever. We're just placing stuff down to so we can kind of see it. See something along these lines where it'd come to a point and then it would go back down after that. Obviously, I did not make this centered. I don't really care because I'm just trying to show it off. But the main idea is we'd have something like this where we'd have kind of two main pillars come up. We'd have this kind of work in the middle, or this kind of triangular section in the middle. And then if we go ahead and go onto the inside here, so there's kind of two options that I see here. We can either come and replace this kind of like final pillar, or maybe even like place it back in one or two. The other thing we could do is kind of go back even one farther, and same thing, we could either place it here, or place it, we would probably place it one back just so you can't see it as well. Probably something along these lines is my thought. So that way you can't actually see the obsidian here, but you can see it, or yeah, you can't actually see the obsidian here because of the column. So I think we will go ahead and go with that. I'm going to go ahead and try and make one of these columns, or at least kind of get the general idea of what's going on. I will bring you guys back in just a second. So a little bit of time has passed, and I wanted to update you guys on kind of how the columns are looking and the main idea that I'm going to have going forward with this. So the first thing I want to talk about was the change to tough. I I've built a lot of things in stone, and I wanted to try something different. And I wanted to try something, I kind of wanted something a little bit darker. So I was between doing tough and deep slate. And deep slate, I think, is a little bit too dark for what I was wanting. Originally, what I was going to do was I wanted to pair this with moss and with vines because tough kind of has this green hue to it. So as I was building, I started to add some little details in just to see kind of like what would work well. And this pale moss actually ended up looking really nice. This kind of like the vines growing up the side looks super nice. I ended up adding these flames with the blue, um, which is definitely not something I was planning on doing because I was gonna go more for the green and mossy side of ruins. But what I think I'm gonna do instead is more of this like I don't even know what to call it. Uh, the glow lichen is with it as well, kind of has like a blue tint to it. But I think I'm gonna keep this style where it's more not alien, but it's more, I think, just fantasy is really what it is. I don't really have a word for it. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with the tough here. I'm going to build up the second column, and I haven't done the details for this. I have a feeling that I'm going to change some of this out, and even then, I was considering removing this altogether and having some type of just like middle column here, and maybe some connector up here too. I'm not entirely sure where this is going to land. It's just going to take a lot of trial and error of kind of replacing these blocks just because I haven't built with tough too much. It's a pretty new block. And so I am going to go ahead and build up this left column and then start on the roof and I will update you guys from there. So a little bit of an update. I went ahead and placed in the second column over here and I basically just copied exactly what I had over here. I'm still messing with the design a little bit. I yeah, I'm really not sure what I'm going to do in the middle here or if I'm just going to leave it like that. But the other thing that I did was I started the roof. And what I'm trying to figure out with this is if I should kind of offset this by one or not. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to add kind of like some type of like intricate curve system. And I'm not exactly sure how I would make it look good because my guess is once this gets placed down, it's not gonna look like anything special, and that's what I'm a little worried about. But like if I just place something down like this, I'm wondering if I can make something that looks circular, and I'm gonna guess no, but let's see what happens. So, not really, honestly. I was really hoping I could get some type of intricate design, so I might just make something that's symmetrical that looks nice. And what I need to figure out is if I'm going to place it here or if I'm going to offset it by one. I feel like both ways could look good. I think the best way to do it is to actually design the intricate curves and everything itself first, and then I can place it down one way or another. I'll probably place it down backed up first, and then if I don't like it, maybe I can place it down one block forward, and if I like it like there, I can just delete the original. So that's the main update here. The two other things that I have started to do is I need to place down the nether portal itself, and I think this is about where I'm going to place it. I think I'm going to have it offset a little bit, but I don't want this to be super far back because I don't want people to spawn in the corner over here. Um, this is weird. I don't know how that happened. There we go. That's not even designed correctly. I don't even know how I managed that. Well, anyways, get rid of that. We'll fix that really quick. I'm using these. I'm using two different chisel blocks here. I'm using the chisel tough bricks, and then I'm also using these chisel tough. And the combination of them together look very, very nice. I very much so like the design. What I'm trying to do is figure out if I should make another column almost exactly like this, but like maybe one that got toppled over or something like that, or if it would just kind of be cut off at some point, or if I should do something that's more just like a fire pit that matches the design kind of, but not exactly. Um, I might not even be able to do anything, but I'm kind of thinking something smaller might work. But I'm thinking I would have to keep it within like I don't know, a 3 by 3 would be maybe not 3 by 3, but I don't want to have these corners filled in, and I kind of want it to just I want it to be smaller than what I see here, I think. And so maybe we can do something like this where we put walls along the outside to make more of a curve. And then I think I want to make it like kind of spiky almost. So maybe we can start raising some of this up. Maybe we can put something like this. Or maybe we can offset those by one. Because that doesn't look terrible. I think it still fits the build quite a bit. Maybe if we add some more design here. We'll see if I can add a little bit to this to see if I can make it work, because I like this, but I feel like it's a little too big and it takes away. I want to be able to see the columns. I would rather have something that's a little bit smaller up front that matches, but isn't exactly the same. So I might work with this design for just a second and bring you guys back. So I'm adding some final touches here to this little uh, fire pit, and I'm starting to like how this is starting to come out. Originally, I was actually thinking about maybe removing all of this stone and maybe replacing it with a more well-trodden path, like just replacing it back with dirt again. But I think I like what this is heading towards. So this is kind of the design that I'm looking at now. I'm still a little iffy on the spikes. I like the idea behind this a lot, actually. But I'm not sure if it fits here. Maybe it would be like a center thing, and we have like little, I don't know, maybe we could have like smaller little ones just along the outside here. Something that's just like little totems, either that they would, let's see, we could either do something where it's just like this, where they just kind of like end at different heights, and then maybe we can have some soil in the middle here, like that. Maybe something along these lines. I'm not entirely sure. In fact, I'm wondering if I should actually not make this centered at all, and maybe just have a bunch of different random ruins scattered around here. I think that actually makes a hell of a lot more sense, and it's gonna actually end up looking a lot nicer. And we'll still maybe we'll have like a little center arch here to like signify that you're getting into the right place. But all in all, I'm really liking the direction that this is heading, and I think next I want to work on the portal itself because I'm worried that the purple is gonna be harsh against blue and the gray and kind of like the green. I'm just worried it's gonna look not right, I guess. So I go ahead and start breaking all this. Um, let's go ahead and place this portal down and see how it looks. Okay, so this gives us a good idea of what we need to add here. I think before we added the portal, it looked better, honestly, and I think the problem is the fact that there's not a lot of shape of it's just a square portal. So I think what needs to change is, I think I've already talked about it, but maybe flanging these out a little bit. I'm also not a huge fan of being able to see the black of the portal, so I think what I might do is actually lower this by one. Yeah, I very much so like not being able to see the black. And I assume, let's see what happens when we go through. Perfect. Okay. That is exactly what I wanted to see. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and try to add some decoration here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and start working on the roof as well. And maybe we'll do a short time lapse here, and we'll do something a little bit different, so that way I'm not cutting every 2 minutes. And yeah, we'll see from there. So after an extensive amount of redesign, I believe I am finally happy with where this portal is ending up. I did quite a bit off of camera and on camera of the different ideas, just trying to combine all my ideas together, and I think I finally have the main premise of what I want this to be like. The main theme that I realize it's more like graveyard, if that makes sense, or like kind of things are dead and decaying. I ended up terraforming just a little bit to show what I think would be best to kind of combine it into the hillside, and I believe I'm going to do kind of like this pale moss carpet and these vines and these dead bushes and the coral just to show like, oh, like, dead bushes. And I think I like that because it kind of shows that it's like either spreading or decaying or something. I'm not entirely sure what the story would be with it, but maybe that's something that we can come up with later. And the other thing I did was the roof itself. I'm not entirely convinced on this design. For now, I'm like, you saw how many times I redid this and the columns. I'm not super happy with how they turned out, but I think altogether they look fine. I think in the end, it's what we need for now, and I can change in the future if needed. Really, the final thing I want to do is, I don't know if you saw, I also removed the ruins that were around here. I think I want to continue this and expand this a little bit and maybe add a little bit more little spare ruins around here and maybe some type of like little archway or something coming up or maybe just a couple pillars to kind of signify it's like, okay, I'm in this area now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then after that, we'll probably finish off the video because that should be two pretty major builds all in one vid. And yeah, so I'll see you in just a minute. Well, guys, I can say for once I am proud of this build. I don't really know where this was heading or where it still is heading, but I am kind of in love with it. Still don't know about the lanterns, and I haven't touched anything up here since, but I've just been adding decorations, and it just feels complete. This is a little bit different than any type of build I feel like I've done quite yet. I did make an extra path over here just in case we want to. It just ended up working out well. But like I don't know. I'm pretty proud of this. I spent as typical. This took me a lot of time, and that's probably gonna be it for today. What we will maybe do next time is make the ruins for this build. So what I'm thinking about doing is just doing a couple things. I think what we would do is we would make the base of these pillars and have them like cut off here and like have like some crumbled parts here. maybe have like the outer wall here be like crumbled and not have any of the stone brick, not have anything. I don't want people to be able to see what is going to be built here. It's kind of funny. We're going to build ruins for ruins, but the whole point of the bundle is we're not supposed to build any of this really yet in survival. We're really only supposed to build like, oh, okay, there's something is planned to be here. What is it? And let's go ahead and fill it out. Why is that guy so quick? Holy, he was going so fast. But yeah, so I think next time we are going to make the ruins for the ruins. And I think what we're going to do otherwise is start on maybe the circular path around the lake itself. I don't remember if I showed this off, but I had a couple of different ideas for some lanterns here. These were just either random ones I found online or ones that I made. I think I'm going to go with this one. I might have already gotten some resources collected for it. Yeah, I actually have a shulker boxer ready to go back in the survival world. So I think what we're going to do next time is start placing down these lanterns. The only reason I'm really doing this is because of the berries. It's just a little something a little bit different than anything I've ever had. It adds a little bit of a splash of color into the lanterns themselves, and still makes it kind of naturey, and it still fits the taiga. So I think we will go ahead and do that, and then something else, I'm sure. We'll do something small. I'm not entirely sure what. But yeah, two very big builds today. Obviously you can see the half build there, the full build there. I'm pretty proud of where this is going, and we are actually making progress towards starting up the Valley server. I'm gonna assume that the end or the start of the Valley will start around, I don't know, August, maybe September. It just kind of depends because we have some very busy events coming up towards the end of September, so I don't want to start something and then a week later be gone for 2 weeks. Um, so we'll see how long this takes me and how much interest everyone from the server has on starting it back up soon. But yeah, so I think that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please consider liking and subscribing. Hit the notification bell if you would like to see more of these in the future. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching and goodbye.